All right. And then I have one person that signed up for citizen comment. If there's anybody else would like to sign up for citizen comment, I have the sheet up here. If not, then we'll go ahead and call tonight, Monday's July 6th legislative session to order at 5:30 p.m. If I could please get everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you, everyone. That'll move us directly into roll call.
Mr. Bowman,
Present.
Mr. Perry,
Present.
Ms. Quizznell, Ms. Brill, Mr. Campbell,
Present.
Mr. Camacho,
Present.
Ms. Morton.
Present.
Let the record show the following staff are in attendance: City Manager Albert Tripp, City Attorney Dan Gibbons, Planning Director Heather Troutman, Captain Jake Keith, Police Chief Brad Richmond, Court Administrator Katie Dorman, Assistant Clerk Treasurer Tanya Dashiell. Anybody else?
No, we can add it. Okay. Thank you so much. We do have one addition to tonight's formation of an ad hoc committee for a complaint of a public official will be on there. And then also, actually, I believe that's it. So council, what would you like to do about tonight's agenda? Got a motion? Do I have a second? All right. All those in favor? All right. And then we do have one member tonight that is not going to be in attendance. I did get a message saying that they were currently in transport, taking some kids home from a camp, that they were not able to, they weren't in good cell phone service tonight. So with that being said, council, what would we like to do about the absence of Ms. Quizznell?
Move to excuse.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Any further questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All those opposed? All right, that motion passes. All right, and next up, I don't see anything for announcements, presentations, council reports.
Bill and I had the opportunity to pair up and go to the EWC conference. All I can say is, wow, it's a lot of information. It's a lot of really great classes. Our speaker was Doug Griffiths, and he has a book out that's called 13 Ways to Kill Your Community. One of the best presentations I have seen in a very long time. There is an opportunity to watch his webinar on the AWC site. One to Albert, please. Right? Okay. Yep. But it will be on the webinar on July 22nd. Can't remember if there was a fee to watch it, but highly suggest it. Very good. A lot of humor in the book, which makes it even better. For those of us wanting to attend next year, it is in Tacoma. And the class I found the most interesting was the public records. That was super surprising on how meticulous and that it has to be. So it has stirred up some questions that I'm still doing my research and then I'll ask. And the food was great. Really great.
And I'll just dovetail on that. I appreciate the opportunity that the city afforded us to attend that. A lot of valuable training, some great opportunities to network. And this book was really interesting. His presentation was based on this He's been doing work in this field for quite a number of years. He's actually from Canada, Alberta. And the title 13 Ways to Kill Your Community refers to the 13 chapters that communities often make these mistakes or take these courses of action and destroy their communities. I'm happy to report, I don't think we're doing any of these particularly, but we also don't want to be complacent and fall into a pattern where we might inadvertently start doing some of these things. So it's a good read, I think. I hope. I haven't read it yet. The presentation was great. Yeah, a lot of great sessions. I think for me, the thing that stood out, and I deliberately signed myself up for sessions that were cover my own personal weak areas. So things like public outreach, community engagement, youth, and those kinds of things. I guess some people call that the touchy-feely stuff. And the big takeaway for me was, yeah, public engagement. How to drum up and encourage and create support. I should say drum up. That's the wrong term. That's what we do normally, right? We have a project. We want to sell something to the community. We have to drum up support. And the feeling in the conference was you're ahead of the game if you can create that trust and support going in before you ever have to launch a project, so that you kind of already have advocacy, you have supporters. So that's going to be kind of a focus area for me, I think, for the coming year or so. Try to hone those skills and apply them where we can. Oh yeah. One of the other sessions I took was, or attended, I should say, was basically helping your community kind of find its identity, find what those common core values are within your community, the things that you want to preserve, the things you want to move forward with or toward. We had a couple of good presentations. Cheney actually apparently participated in a program called, if I remember right, Heart and Soul. Mm-hmm. And I've already kind of been in touch with Mayor Martin there to follow up with her to find out kind of what they did and how that worked. But the idea was you typically have various camps in a community. The people that don't want to change a thing, then the people that think everything needs to be changed. And if you work long enough and smartly enough, you begin to find apparently that we all have a lot in common, a lot more in common than we don't. We just express it maybe differently. So that's something that again, I'd like to pursue that. And I'll begin by following up with Mayor Martin and see what that rabbit trail looks like when we get there. Thank you.
And I'd like to apologize to the council. I was registered to attend AWC, and I was sharing with Tanya. I don't know what happened that day. I presented 2 cards at the gate did you guys park for free or in the garage? I showed up there. It wouldn't take both my cards. They didn't take any cash. So I turned around and went home. And that was on the second day. So, my apologies, because I never went back. And I usually I've attended everything else on the west side. So, I just wanted to apologize for that. And I was just bringing up to Tanya what it cost for us to register for that thing. And I'll be more than happy to pay for my share, because my intention was to attend, but when it didn't work that day for some crazy reason, I just went home and I didn't come back. So yeah, my apologies.
So during the AWC conference, I attended my first Risk Management Service Agency Board of Directors meeting. I believe on Wednesday. I got a text from Bill saying, "Where are you?" I had to say I was at that meeting. But so it's the first board meeting. We have our retreat in July, and I'm looking forward to learning a lot about the organization, and hopefully we'll be able to come back and share some of what I learned from that. So.
All right. Well, I just want to say that hopefully everybody had a safe 4th of July, and I know our block party, everybody in attendance, all the kids and everybody had a great time and trying to be as safe as we possibly can. I understand there were a couple incidents for both public safety and for fire. And, just want to commend our officers that responded and did such a great job to everything. So we appreciate it. So that's all I have. and that'll move us into staff reports.
Is there any member of staff that has a report this evening?
Good evening, Chair and Council. Just a reminder of our community engagement event on Saturday evening, Cops, Kids, and Cruisers. Hope you all can attend. Had a phenomenal turnout next year, and we're hoping for last year, I should say, and hoping for a even better event this year and more engagement from our cruising population and our kids and families. We want to try to again, just exactly what you were saying, Bill, about engagement with their community at every level. They gotta know us to trust us from the very start in everything we do. And so this is just one of those efforts I think that we all of our departments do to try to engage with our community at a higher level, because we want them to call us when they need us the most. So thank you.
And then Chief, what time was that on Saturday again? 5 p.m. All right. Anything else from staff? Not seeing any of them. I don't see anything. Oh, there is someone here for public hearing, the Recreation, Conservation Office Grant Application Community Support. I will go ahead and open the public hearing on that at 5:41. Ms. Troutman, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you very much, Heather Troutman, Building and Planning. We are working on a RCO grant application for the city of Airway Heights. Part of the process for the application for the RCO grant, this year we're looking for $125,000 to assist in an update to the parks master plan, their 6-year plan. Ours will expire toward the end of 2027. So this grant opportunity provides for us to go through the process of updating that 6-year capital plan using the RCO grant funding. And part of the process is engagement prior to the application. So this opportunity is to hear from anyone in the community that would be interested or has a topic, particularly that they'd like to see addressed in the update to the Parks Master Plan, as well as any needs that they see within our community having to do with recreation. And so with that summary, I'll hand this back over to the chair.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Troutman. Like I previously mentioned, the floor is open for public comment. Is there anybody online or in attendance here who would like to address council or make a comment? I am not seeing anything from council. Go ahead.
Just because I'm a newbie and I don't know, everything behind this, is there any restrictions or guidelines of how this money has to be used, or just does it fall under a general recreation?
No, there are specific elements that this funding has to be used for, which is to create a new 6-year capital plan. It requires a community engagement process for the development of that plan and the development of a capital list for that 6 years.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. Anything else? Not seeing any. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 5:44. Now to move us on to the consent agenda. Item CA1 is the approval minutes from June 15, 2026. Item CA2, the approval of minutes from June 22nd, 2026. Council, what would you like to do about tonight's consent agenda?
Move to approve.
A motion, do I have a second? All right, thank you. Any questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that passed unanimously. That will move us on to action items. Item A is the DIS letter to Spokane County. Ms. Troutman, the floor is yours once again, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm hoping to get up.
You had the next 2 items, so
No, I want to sit down and get back up.
I figured
Steps in today.
we can do that if you want.
So thank you very much. So this is having to do with the draft environmental impact statement to Spokane County. So if you recall, this was both briefed and brought to council as well as the Economic Development Committee. Spokane County, as well as its cities, are required to adopt a comprehensive plan by the end of 2026. DEIS stands for Draft Environmental Impact Statement. It is a process by which the county is conducting its environmental review to the built and the man-made environment, simultaneous to the development of alternatives for their land use portion of the comprehensive plan. And as if you recall from the last briefing, they included a no change alternative. So if everything remains the same, what are the impacts to transportation and to wildlife and rivers and streams and water availability? There was a proposal for urban growth areas, and then there was a proposal that included considering urban growth area changes as proposed by individual applicants in the city. We have identified several areas that we'd like to comment as the city. And at this time, we'll be preparing a letter and sending it to the county by the end of the week. And they include two general topics, which are the de-designation of urban growth areas that the city has held since essentially the instigation of growth management in 1990, which includes the off-road vehicle park area, which was sometime in that period, as well as the property immediately north of the city limits at Craig Road, as well as that we no longer need any other residential UGAs. We are proposing to keep one urban growth area, which is south of US 2 because of a contract between that property owner, Spokane County, and the city of Airway Heights for future annexation. The second element of the letter indicates that any analysis that would be needed for urban growth areas, which are unincorporated areas that are designated for urban growth. So rural growth may be 1 unit per 10 acres, and urban could be 6 homes per acre. Quite a difference. That the county would be responsible for studying the impacts of those urban growth area designations adjacent to the city limits, or that would impact city infrastructure. So if there's transportation that is proposed that would come on to Craig or to Hayford Road, such as we know is available in the county's draft plan, that they would analyze the impacts to those intersections and the congestion management along US 2. That also includes water. We're the only water purveyor in this area. So if there's a UGA designated next to the city, then we're saying that it's the county's responsibility to study the impacts to our water system if they were to designate urban growth adjacent to our city, because that would mean that eventually people developing that land may seek to get water or sewer from the city. So those are the two elements of a letter that we'd be sending forward to the county as part of the draft EIS. Remember, this is a time-sensitive matter. The comments are due by Saturday of this week. And we'll just be signing the letter, Albert or I, but we're briefing this to the council so they're aware of the context of the review and the impacts to our own planning as well as our infrastructure. Are there any questions?
No.
And that's got to be in by, you said, I believe it was August?
No, it needs to be in by the Saturday, the 11th.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments? I don't have any. So you guys are going to be signing the letter tonight, just the request for the consideration to approve the DIS letter itself and then approve the signature for either you or Albert.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter who signs it, I guess. But yeah, council, can I get a motion? Or?
Move to approve.
All right, I got a motion. Second. All right. Any questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that passed unanimously. That'll move us on to item B, which will be next item for Ms. Troutman.
So I'll be handing out 2 copies of this document. It turns out that the program that we utilize accepted the changes rather than reflecting the changes we were proposing. So in the first document, which is affordable housing, the proposed changes are in red. And in the second document, they're also red. There is a letter that goes with this that's in the packet. This was briefed previously to City Council. This is having to do with countywide planning policy. So in the state of Washington, as part of growth management, to ensure that all communities, all cities in the county are planning consistently as part of a periodic update, which is a regular required update by the state of Washington to your comprehensive plan. There are several different policies that are adopted by the Board of County Commissioners, but they're advised by the Steering Committee of Elected Officials, which is a body which is advisory to the Board of County Commissioners that has representation from each of the jurisdictions. So Councilman Bowman is the representative for Airway Heights. There are mayors or other council members that represent each of the other cities, as well as county commissioners that are on the steering committee. Previously, in April, in June, the city of Airway Heights had recommended that the Board of County Commissioners and the steering committee not adopt these two policies because we're in really the final stages of preparation of our plans for adoption. Adoption is required by every jurisdiction in the county by December of this year. The county intentionally initiated the process of updating these county planning policies for this cycle of growth management a year early in 2023. So we've been at this for 3 years with the intent that we would have all of the policies in place so that each community could prepare their plan. And in the letter from the city council, we recommended that these two policies not be adopted for a number of reasons. However, at the June 15th meeting of the Steering Committee of Elected Officials, they voted to defer a decision until the July 15th meeting. I believe it's the 15th, to allow each of the cities additional opportunity to comment on the drafts. So we brought the drafts to the EDC committee and again briefed the city council with some ideas about some proposed changes. It's still the recommendation to not adopt these policies so late in the process because it could require additional work to our comprehensive plan, and we are ready to publish. We're actually working with the Department of Commerce right now on our adoption date. But this text includes some recommended changes. So on the first one, which is policy topic 7, affordable housing, there were additional goals added for home ownership. This is not required by growth management. There is no state law that requires this to be included in countywide planning policies or apply to any individual community. And yet it is a policy that's being proposed to apply to every city in the county. And to our knowledge, the Department of Commerce has reviewed other jurisdictions in the state and no other community has adopted home ownership as a goal. That's my understanding from the Department of Commerce as reported to the Steering Committee of Elected Officials. So in the summary briefing last week, we talked about modifying this draft to address a couple of key items. One was removing language that makes it mandatory for each jurisdiction, every city and the county, to adopt homeownership opportunities for all income levels, which is contained actually within a policy of the draft. As we've heard from our affordable housing community providers, it is very, very difficult to provide ownership opportunities for households at 50% or less of area median income. And thus, we've recommended that this language be modified as a should, as optional, to allow it for local jurisdiction consideration for homeownership opportunities at 50% or greater. We have several different examples within our community, which include Highland Village as well as Arrowleaf, in which those are communities designed for rental and homeownership opportunities, which include 50% or greater of area median income. This also recommends removing language which limits apartments. The Department of Commerce official published guidance to each city and counties provides that apartments are a viable option within the context of a local community to choose that as a housing option. And in that guidance, it indicates that apartments can serve incomes groups of 0 to 80% or greater. We've also had language in here that directs cities and towns on how they're going to address utility provisions, access, and the subdivision of land. Those are already provided for in state law, and in each of these jurisdictions, they have their own ordinances and public works standards that already speak to how these will be provided for new development. There also is a requirement for data collection, which includes tracking a variety of forms of data that are not readily available that may require to be purchased or to be provided through another resource. And the recommended language is that this will only apply to communities greater than 50,000 in our county, and that communities less than 50,000 would not be responsible to pay for the cost or to provide the data, that Spokane County would be the one who's sponsoring this policy, would be the one responsible for collecting that data. Is there any questions with regards to the first document and the suggested changes in red? The purple and blue came from members of a subcommittee of steering committee and a private individual, as I understand. Okay, I'll move on to the next one. Topic policy number 11, monitoring growth. This again is a new policy. It's not required under growth management. There is one community in the Puget Sound region, which historically has had something like this, where it has to do with monitoring growth because they have a different model for how they distributed growth within their community. This, as written, would provide for powers to the steering committee and the Board of County Commissioners that does not currently exist in state law, to allow another agency to review other communities' plans and to determine whether or not growth targets are being met shorter than the mandatory check-in period in 2031 as required by the state, and allow the Board of County Commissioners to make changes without covering or addressing the costs of the community or the changes that would be made to their allocations of housing. Again, there is a requirement for collection of data, and the recommendation is that Spokane County and the cities collectively would be participating in the review of the data, but the communities, cities and towns under 50,000 would not be required to produce or pay for the collection of that data, other than what normally is provided for and required by the state of Washington, which has to do with building permit data, which is provided on an annual basis to the Office of Financial Management for the state of Washington, and subdivision information on the number of lots created. It also puts bookends to the tenure of this proposed evaluation plan, which would not start until 2029. As we previously briefed the council, it is very hard to adopt a plan in 2026 and then evaluate data in 2027 and make a determination that each individual community's plan has succeeded or failed with regards to meeting their housing targets. The recommendation is to have the first check-in period in 2029, which is short of the 5-year mandatory state requirement, but it's reasonable in that normally new subdivisions from the time that they apply to the first building permit would take at least 2 years. It also allows for this only to occur up until the next mandatory update of our comprehensive plans, which would be 10 years or 2036. It also eliminates the collection of data that, again, is outside the normal collection and storage data, such as employment trends. We had to pay for our employment forecast. As a small city, we did not have a countywide employment trend created, so every jurisdiction had to pay for or create that themselves. Capital facility assessment, as well as land capacity. Those are things that come along every 10 years as required by the state. It also makes the mitigation measures one in which it is a voluntary process rather than a mandatory process by the Board of County Commissioners. So a city, if they're failing to meet their housing targets, could come to the steering committee of elected officials and the Board of County Commissioners and ask for their housing allocation to be adjusted. It also limits the extent of the powers of the Board of County Commissioners, which currently are not limited in the actions the board can take as part of adjusting population numbers for a local agency. And with that, we're recommending that the council authorize the letter to be provided to the steering committee of elected officials with the drafts for their next meeting, which I believe is scheduled to be on July 15th. Are there any questions?
Don't have anybody? So when can I expect a letter for signature?
It's
Sometime.
in the packet, and if it's approved tonight, then it should be able to be forwarded to you by tomorrow.
Okay. All right, any questions, comments, concerns? Not seeing any. Council, what do we like to do about item B?
Move to approve, sending the letter.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? All right. If there's no questions or comments, all those in favor? All right, that too passes
you.
unanimously. All right, that brings us on to item C, Spokane County Urban Consortium recertification. Tripp, floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair and Council. The opportunity before you is recertification involving Spokane County Community Development Block Grant. This reoccurs every 3 years. We're at this particular juncture because the recertification process is required by HUD for those jurisdictions participating within the Spokane County Urban Consortium. They are made up of all of the cities within the metro area, and by that, what that constitutes is each of these participating municipal cities, minus City of Spokane, compete for various entitlement dollars. So these are federal dollars that are awarded to the consortium, and then based upon the merits of the application, those entities compete for those. What they've historically looked like in terms of funding programs have been inclusive of things such as water, sewer, transportation, and then more recently, projects that look more like food security, services that are designed to support someone experiencing homelessness and other activities. As I noted earlier, we've been a part of this since 1988. Each 3 years, this recertification process emerges, and the council's asked this evening to consider whether or not it would like to remain a part of the consortium that the city is currently a part of for the remaining next 3 years, or if not, then to participate in the CDBG program on a statewide basis.
All right, any questions or comments for Mr. Tripp?
Mr. Tripp, looking at this language in the breakdown of the description, our last successful grant was 2013.
That's the approximate estimate. That's where most of our electronic files stop, but it might be even earlier than that in terms of the last successful application. Historically, our applications have been really successful around water, sewer extensions, and transportation projects. But since at least 2013, from what we can tell from available records, the city has not received a successful funding application.
Right, I take it from that we have applied for grants, but we've not been successful.
That is correct. Some of our previous applications between 2013 and now have included everything like the extension of sewer adjacent to US2 for some of the commercial businesses up here to connect to, the extension of reclaimed water lines to facilitate connecting parks to, like we just recently did, I think through city internal dollars. It's also included other social services in terms of some of the programs that we run either through co-responder, so on and so forth, but neither of those have been successful.
So do you think that's a function because we're competing with other entities within the consortium versus if we competed directly to the state level, which is, I gather from the language here, is our option if we drop out of the consortium? We go rebel, we do it on our own.
Correct. That is an option. And actually, if the city were not to recertify and participate in this, then it would be competing at the state level. So what that would look like is there'd be a call for projects, there'd be availability of funding, because the funding naturally flows to this, think of it as the state of Washington. Each of the communities are entitled to receive X number of dollars based on population. But there would be a call for projects at the state level, and then those cities that are a part of the state program would compete then for those dollars, just as we do at the county level currently.
So does that translate into we're less competitive or more competitive?
Yep.
Sounds like less competitive.
You know, given our past history, it's hard to say because it could be different at the state level.
Thank you.
Yep. One of the unknown factors too that I think colors into this conversation, there's discussion about home dollars. There's discussion about some of the, what do you call it, dollars that are used for helping people who are unhoused get housed. The implications of how then does those dollars flow to the city of Airway Heights if you decide to become a part of, say, like a regional coalition. There's been conversation about how the cities in the metro area work to wrap their arms around that. But if you're competing at the state level for those dollars, do they still flow to the city of Airway Heights in a way that would be supportive of the council goals to facilitate something like that? Or does it become a bit more competitive, if you will?
Yep. And I see at the bottom of that action that your recommendation is to approve to recertify. Do you feel that that's the best path, given what the questions that Bill was presenting?
I think as of today, yes. The last time the recertification came up, I think I actually recommended that the council consider looking at the state as an alternative. But I think there are some unknowns, again, around home funding, some of the dollars for individuals unhoused that need to be fleshed out more thoroughly in order to make an informed choice about whether or not those dollars are quite possibly lost, or whether or not you continue to have access. I would suggest doing that before choosing to do something differently. But as you can see from the history, we have not been very successful, which does beg the question, would the city be more successful at the state level versus continuing the path we're on?
And is this a yearly recertification, or is it every, 5 years, or
Every 3 years.
every 3? Okay.
So does this actually prevent us from applying on our own if we are a part of the consortium?
It does, because you're either, there's a couple different buckets. You're either competing at the state level in the sense that the state receives all the money and you're part of that particular pool applying for it, or perhaps you're located in a county like Spokane where it's a consortium and you're part of a municipality within that county applying for it, or in some instances you're an actual city where you get the allocation directly from the federal government as an entitlement community. I think Spokane is in that latter bucket. They don't necessarily compete in this county consortium, but we're nowhere near being where we can get the funds directly.
Yeah, no, and that was my question is, if you've reviewed the language or not, if there's anything that does prevent us, from acting outside.
Presently, yes, because there would be a whole separate process to set the city up as an entitlement community to receive those dollars directly from
Okay.
other.
All right, Council, what would you like to do about item C?
I choose to remain on the consortium, being that there's so many unknowns. I mean,
Do you bring a motion for the approval?
approval.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second. Any further questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that passed unanimously. Well, I would like to look into that as well, Albert, within the next 3 years, given that now we have time after the approval to see what's the good, the bad, and the ugly from each. So that way the next go around, we can make, an informed decision, or if there's even, something that now that we chose the recertification, can we actually choose to drop out of that at some point too? Actually set ourselves up in a different manner.
Yeah, we definitely can look into that further. I neglected to note when the last recertification process came around, we talked with the county officials about the lack of success in terms of competing for these programs. And we were assured that the county was revamping their process and looking to make that fair, transparent, and competitive for all allowed. Thus far, it hasn't borne fruit for this community.
Okay. All right, moving on to item D.
Hey, Larry.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, Albert, do we by chance have a list of what cities or areas are not part of the consortium so we can use that as a basis to figure out, how competitive they are, whether anybody's been successful on the other end without being a member of the consortium? Do we have access to that information? Just to use as a gauge, something to give us an idea of what our chances, would be if we went independent.
Maybe a different county might be an appropriate comparison, because most of the other communities that are participating in, they all fall up under the state. But perhaps another county that's an entitlement or a consortium similar to Spokane County might provide an adequate comparison in terms of how then are those cities, how's the distribution of funds occurring in a similar way.
Thank you.
All right. Any further questions on that? All right, item did pass. Move us on to item D, which is community court reimbursement grant. And then Ms. Dorman, I see that you have a couple. And I did have a question about grant writing, because I know our grant writer is here as well. What would be if we were to hire a full-time grant writer versus a part-time, what's, the cost to the city to do so? And, for me, it's just the question of, we know your value. Everybody that works on these grants is absolutely phenomenal. But what is, kind of the comparables, a full-time grant writer for somebody that's, just a part-time grant writer versus somebody that just reviews applications? If I could get that, that would be, great, because I know that we have some things coming up for different grants as well. So I appreciate it.
So I couldn't answer that question. I'll leave that to Albert, Elise, and
Yeah.
Tara. But I write our grants for the court that apply to AOC, which is the Administrative Office of the Courts. Elise looks them over sometimes for me, but for the most part, I write our grants regarding our application. Good evening, Council Chair. This is a renewal, basically grant for fiscal year 27. It will continue funding our community court. And this year I requested $311,000 and received $294,678.56. This will pay for a full-time employee for the court, Officer Johnson's time in the community court program, our prosecutor and public defender's time in the program, my time turning in the grant, and the judge's time. It will also include training and travel for the community court team for approximately $20,365, and then treatment services for participants in our program. Any questions? And I'm asking for approval.
All right. Any further questions or comments for Ms. Dorman on item D? Not seeing any.
And just good job.
Oh,
Nice.
All right. Would anybody like to bring a motion?
Move to approve the acceptance of the court grant.
All right. A motion to have a second. All right. If there's no further questions or comments, all those in favor? All right. That passes unanimously. That'll move us on to the next item for the post-conviction and pretrial reimbursement grant. Where's your time?
Thank you. So this is actually two separate grants that I applied for. They kind of have to do with the same thing. But the post-conviction grant will pay for anyone that's on probation or in what we call a stipulated order of continuance, which is similar to probation, but they have not been convicted. And this will reimburse us for EHM and SCRAM services, MRT, and drug testing and ignition interlock. I requested $60,000. There was only $294,000 available across the state. And we received $10,000 for reimbursement. And this is already in our budget. It's stuff we already pay for. They're just going to reimburse us for what we've already paid for. So that's the first one, the post-conviction. I don't know if we need to do them separate.
It's probably better if we do them
Okay.
separate. So, Council, what would you like to do about the post-conviction
Can I ask a
grant?
question?
Oh,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Could you spell out the acronyms for me?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
No,
So,
it's okay.
I apologize. So EHM is electronic home monitoring. So instead of jail costs, it's similar. It's like house arrest. So I'll give you for every day in the jail, are we at 220 a day? 220 a day for every single person that's in jail. Electronic home monitoring costs us $15 a day. It's
bit different.
a significant savings. It's not always an option for some defendants, but it's an option that the court tries to use most of the time. And then SCRAM is, I don't remember the exact acronym, but it's basically electronic alcohol monitoring. So it's a requirement per law on any case that you have a DUI and it's been your second DUI. The court can also impose it if you have a nexus between alcohol use and your crime. And so the court uses it mostly for DUIs, but it is also used for domestic violence cases or similar cases where there is a connection between alcohol use and the crime. MRT is moral recognition therapy. That's taught by our probation department. It's classes. They have a DV one, a regular, like crime thinking one, a theft class, a driving with license suspended class, and one more, and I can't remember, I apologize. And she teaches it each 4 or 5 classes a week for an hour or 2 at a time. And I have a great probation officer and she does an amazing job. And I will tell you, we see the most change in someone when they take these classes. She has a very high success rate and she is now being used across the entire county. And her services are paid for by Spokane County District Court, Spokane Municipal Court, Stevens County District Court, Grant County District Court, and I think one other one they use our services and pay for it.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, no problem. The last one is basically the same thing, but in pretrial status. So before a person is convicted, the court, especially for DUI cases, if it's their second or more DUI, the court is required to put them on alcohol monitoring and required for ignition interlocked. It's a state law. This will help pay for those services for individuals that cannot afford it. And instead of us taking that cost, this will reimburse us for that cost. And I can't remember what I exactly asked for this one, but we received $20,000.
All right, so we have 2 items here. The first item is going to be passing the post-conviction grant. Council, what would you like to do about that item?
Move to approve post-conviction grant.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Got a second. Any questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, then the second item within that is the pretrial reimbursement grant. Council, what would you like to do about this item?
Move to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Any further questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that 2 passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I was busy writing down the notes relative to the CDBG request earlier, but so I missed most of your statement there. I was wondering, can you summarize that request you had on the grants so I can capture it?
Well, it's just, I know that grant writing is so important to the city. And, for a lot of stuff that we do, I mean, Miss Munati's worth her weight in gold and what she's done for, getting, and I just wonder what the actual cost would be if we hired another full-time grant writer or had a part-time grant writer, or even somebody that could, kind of go through grants just to kind of see the cost to the city. Cause we know the benefit that we have thus far, what would an additional grant writer, be to the city? Can we get more funds? Can we go after more grants? But also at the same time, it's, from my understanding, the grant management side as well is super big and important as well. So, what would it take basically to go after more and have an additional person for, and again, this is something that, I've been consistently thinking about, especially with, our state and federal lobbyists as well. If there's, grant writing opportunities in between there, like at what level would we get out of them? Because there's a value add to the contract at that point. So what's the value? That's, more or less what I get. Or if it's not in our, budget right now to forecast, or let's say hire another grant writer, could we potentially hire one in another year or 2? Or, what would be the benefit of contracting services or whatnot? So that was my only question. It's just stuff that was rattling around in my brain that while we were going through everything. And each time I see a grant on here that we're approving, it gets me excited and say, go team. So we appreciate everything.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, absolutely. That'll move us on to item EE, the formation of committee for a complaint against a public official. And I'll that over to.
Thank you. I'm going to ramble a little bit, and we may need a little bit of feedback from the council exactly on what to do. As you know, Mr. Beinecker made a complaint against Chair Bowman on June 15th. The purpose of this agenda item is to determine what to do with that. My suggestion is twofold. One is that the city hire attorney Andrea Asen to investigate the complaint. And then part 2 is that the city council form an ad hoc committee under council rule 11.2 to investigate the complaint, to receive an investigative report from Ms. Asen, and to make a recommendation to the city council on the resolution of the complaint. I have, assuming this is what the council wants to do, I have a suggested motion, but if there's going to be a committee, we have to figure out who's going to be on the committee. And I don't know who may want to do that or who may not, other than my suggestion is Larry not be involved in it at all.
And for this one, I'm going to stay out of it. I mean, I do support hiring the investigator for the complaint, you know, just like I said previously, I do support it. And, you know, anything that's going to clear the air on this. So I will leave it up to the vice chair and the remainder of the council to for this item.
We'd be looking for a committee of, with 3 people for the committee is what I was going to say.
So is there any concern about perception about the council, the ad hoc committee looking into the investigation? Is there any?
So what the motion would say is that the committee is simply there as a body for the report to be received by, not to micromanage the investigation or anything of that nature. Ms. Asen would be appointed to investigate the complaint and provide that report to the ad hoc committee, and the ad hoc committee would make a recommendation to the council as a whole. That's what I had in mind. That's what I'm going to suggest, but I don't know who may or may not want to be on any such committee.
So would the full report, so the ad hoc committee would determine what to provide to the full council pertaining to the report?
Make a recommendation.
Okay. So there could be a recommendation that's made where they decide not to share the full report.
I don't know what the committee may want to do. I don't know what the report may say. But under the council rule, an ad hoc committee must be appointed with a task to accomplish. And so the task to accomplish would be to receive the report and make a recommendation to the council. The council as a whole can, do something else.
Okay.
But
yeah, I just want to make sure that we're transparent with the public and, that we're not, I don't want to give the public the perception that we're trying to hide or conceal anything. So that was just my one concern.
if, assuming the council wants to do this, 3 people, my recommendation is there be 3 people on the committee. I don't know who may or may not be interested in doing that.
I recall Mr. Campbell's suggestion. I think it's a good idea for those who were not present at the time to have fresh eyes on it. I think that'd be a good idea.
Well, since Ms. Quesnell is not here, that leaves 3 people. And I don't want to speak for them.
Yeah.
But, well, please tell me.
I'm okay with it for myself.
I would participate in that.
Mr. Camacho, are you interested in being on the committee?
Due to and I'm trying to be as transparent as possible. I've known Larry for a very long time, and I don't want anything coming out saying that, yeah, I favored or did something so I cannot see myself sitting on this committee either. It just wouldn't be fair as far as investigative, from an investigative standpoint. Because there's always that room for somebody to step in and say, hey, blah, blah, blah. And I just want to avoid that in all fairness.
I don't know what we've done in the past on appointing people to committees when they're not present.
Those are the first ones we appoint, actually.
Those are the first ones we appoint.
I mean, one thing I will say, whether I know you or not, when the facts come out, the facts are going to speak. And that I can attest to. I can go with facts all day. I'm just trying to avoid, give somebody that leeway to say, oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. He's known him for 15 years. And you know how that goes.
Generally speaking, I think that if you don't think you should be on the committee, I think that you should be guided by your thoughts on that. So if the membership of the committee is not going to include people that were on the council at that time and is not going to include Jesse, then we have 3, and that's what we have.
I would like to say also, I think the full report, once the ad hoc committee receives it, I think the whole council should be privy to that full report.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
Okay.
So we have three.
So we'll tell Cassandra that she is on the committee. I have a motion, it's a suggested motion, if it's time to do that. If there are any other questions or discussion?
The only thing that I was gonna ask is, as far as the actual basis for time, what time are we looking at and what's the cost to the city?
Well, it's hard to say. Ms. Asen has told me that her hourly rate for investigations is $400 an hour.
$400 an hour to investigate. Okay, thank you. All right, if you want to move forward with your,
I suggest the motion as follows. First, that the city council authorize Ms. Asen to be hired to investigate the complaint. Second, that an ad hoc committee be formed to receive an investigative report from Ms. Asen and to recommend a resolution of the complaint to the city council. Third, that the ad hoc committee be composed of Mr. Campbell, Ms. Quisnell, and Ms. Bro.
I move that the proposal presented by our city attorney be put forth and be approved.
all right, there's a motion. Is there a second? All right, there's a second. Thank you, Ms. Bro. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor?
You want to abstain? I suggest that Mr.
All right,
abstain.
I will abstain from this, but the motion passes otherwise with 5 yeses and 1 abstention. All right, that'll move us on to item F, the second reading of ordinance C 1127, amendment title 6. Captain, the floor is yours.
I'll read it into record, please. Ordinance C-1127, an ordinance of the City of Airway Heights, Washington, repealing and replacing Title VI of the Airway Heights Municipal Code relating to animals and other matters properly related thereto.
Floor is yours, sir.
Good evening, Chair and Council. I hope everybody had a happy and safe 4th weekend. That being said, this is an ordinance that's been presented to you previously and briefed. And tonight, if there are no questions, we're just asking for your approval.
All right, any questions or comments? Seeing any, this is the second read. So Council, what would you like to do about ordinance C-1127, the repeal and replacement of Title VI of Airway Heights Municipal Code?
Move to approve ordinance C-1127.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Any further questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that passed unanimously. That'll move us on to second item for Captain Keith is ordinance C-1128. If we could please have that read in a record, and this is the second reading as well.
Ordinance C-1128, an ordinance titled Virtual Currency Kiosk Prohibition for a Safer Airway Heights relating to the elimination of virtual currency kiosks within the City of Airway Heights and adopting a new chapter 8.17 to Title 8 of the Airway Heights Municipal Code.
Again, Chair and Council, this has been previously briefed at other sessions, and tonight we're asking for your approval on this. Virtual currency kiosks pose a clear and growing threat to public safety and are widely used in fraud and criminal schemes and impose enforcement burdens disproportionate to their public benefit. And with other jurisdictions regionally that are banning them and federal agencies warning of their risks, a prohibition is a proactive consumer protection measure for the city.
Mr. Chair, just building on to Captain Keith, I also want to invite Detective Schering to say a few words. You might recall some of you were here during 2024 when he visited with the council to create awareness around this issue, and he, along with others, have been partnering with other communities across the state and in the metro area to try to bring a greater awareness to this and also help protect people's livelihood and resources. So, Detective Schering.
Thank you for having me here again tonight. As I was preparing for this presentation this evening, I was looking back, and it was actually 3 years ago this week that I went and took the cryptocurrency training class with Secret Service, because we were seeing so much cryptocurrency used in both human trafficking and drug trafficking. When I came back from that, unbeknownst to me at the time, but when I came back, I was suddenly the fraud investigator because we were getting inundated with these cases of people losing their life savings to these scams. I think I've investigated over 100 of these types of cases. Not one of them has gone to trial. And I can think of one where I was able to seize about 10% of the assets before they went out of country. These cases are heartbreaking because you're dealing a lot of times with elderly people that are on a fixed income, that have worked their entire life, have their savings built up, and they can lose it within a matter of hours through these scams. These scams are, it is honestly the nuclear option for scams. And they're sometimes referenced in gift cards. It's not in the same league. A gift card scam, victims usually can lose hundreds, maybe a few $1,000s. It's painful, but it isn't catastrophic. These are catastrophic cases. We've had, to my knowledge, on the cases that I've been affiliated with, at least 3 suicides associated with people losing their entire life savings due to these scams. And I'd also like to point out, passing this legislation banning crypto kiosks in no way limits people using cryptocurrency. I do think there's going to be a future for cryptocurrency moving forward. People are going to be using it online, which is really probably what I think it was designed for. But the kiosks themselves, they are charging 10 to 30% on average in fees for each transaction. It is almost impossible. I can't think of a reason why anyone would legitimately use them other than in scam type situations or money laundering situations. And again, talking to these victims, a lot of them are elderly. And when you look at them, and especially when you get into law enforcement, at the end of the day, you want to help people. You want to bring someone to justice. In a lot of these cases, especially the old scam cases, if you could trace the money and seize it and get it back to the person, that was at least a win as well. In these cases, that doesn't happen. So you have to talk to these victims, and they've lost their entire life savings in a matter of hours, and there's nothing you can do for them. So I'd ask you to pass this ordinance. We've already passed it in Spokane. My goal is to hopefully eventually pass it county-wide, because I don't want to be pushing the problem somewhere else. I want pretty much everyone here in Spokane, if not the state, protected from this. A lot of states have already passed statewide legislation: Connecticut, Iowa, Washington State. We're working on that, but that's going a little slower than I was hoping for, which is why we're going from municipality to municipality to address this issue, and to hopefully bring relief to people that don't even know they would be victims in the future, that just won't happen to them. So I'll entertain any questions that you may have at this point. If not, I thank you very much for letting me speak tonight.
Yeah, well, I didn't have a question, but my family and I used to own Northwest ATM, and I still get emails from eGlobal and everybody else for the processors that a percentage, a very, very tiny percentage of what would go out would be, not even 1%. And then they would set up the fees for the ATMs, maximum $3, or else nobody's going to use your ATM. I could not imagine a case where they would charge 10 to 30% at all on anything unless it was for, activity that was not 100% legal or otherwise. That's just absolutely insane to me. So we appreciate all the hard work that you've done, and I appreciate it. That was the only thing I had to say.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, council, what would we like to do about item G, ordinance C-1128?
Move to approve currency kiosk ban.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second. Any further questions, comments, concerns? Not seeing any. All those in favor? Oh, absolutely, chief.
I just want to, these, you talk about our elderly population, our most vulnerable. And thank you, Captain Keith, for putting that together. Tim, thank you for the education. We can't say it enough how this collaboration. You know, Tim works for the Spokane Police Department. He doesn't have to be out here at the city of Airway Heights educating our people, and then you for championing on your side, on the council side. So just want to say thank you to all you again and again. I think it's important to show these values are important and to take care of the people in our community. And this is just another step in the right direction. And we appreciate your support.
Absolutely, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
All right, so we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. All right, then I'm gonna move us on to item H, the first reading of ordinance C-1129 for Title 19. We can get that read in the record.
Ordinance C-1129, an ordinance of the City of Airway Heights, Washington, amending Airway Heights Municipal Code Title 19 entitled Critical Areas and providing for other matters related thereto.
All right, thank you so much. Ms. Troutman, would you like to brief on this one?
Thank you. You're helping me get my STEP goals today. This is a requirement, actually. The briefing and the staff report included in the agenda includes that these are updates required by the state of Washington as part of the Growth Management Act. Critical areas typically include wetlands, recharge areas for aquifers or wellheads, fish and wildlife, conservation areas, areas that are frequently flooded, and geologically hazardous areas. We have had such an ordinance since it was first required under growth management. We're required to make some updates because of legislative changes, as well as the identification of a new type of habitat, which is located in the city of Airway Heights. We've briefed this briefly to City Council, which included a study session on June 22nd. So we are going to be relying on, to some extent, map resources provided by federal and state resources for these critical areas. But we're relying also on applicants for development proposals to identify whether they observe or believe that these types of critical areas, such as wetlands, shrub, steppe, priority habitat, as well as aquifer protection areas, are located within their property or adjacent to their property, and go through a process by which we evaluate the impacts and go through steps for identification of those impacts and mitigation. It's really a straightforward ordinance. It's gone through the Planning Commission, as you can see, and there was a resolution included in the packet in which they're recommending that the council approve this ordinance with these changes under our Title 19 of the Airway Heights Municipal Code. We're proposing to come back for public hearing on July 20th with proposed final action by the council at that time. And then so passed by the council, as always, we submit these final changes to the state to demonstrate our compliance. Any questions?
And then we'll see it back in 2 more weeks.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Any questions or comments from Ms. Troutman? Okay. All right, we'll see that back up here in a couple weeks. All right, item I, resolution 2026-016, removal of the cash drawer. Ma'am, the floor is all yours.
The resolution title was incorrect in the draft that was sent out. So the proper resolution 2026-016, a resolution eliminating a finance department cash drawer and providing for the effective date thereof. That is all we're doing, is removing one cash drawer from circulation so that there's no option to take that money or those funds to be compromised. So by eliminating that, we've already taken the cash to the bank, so that cash drawer doesn't exist. Less chance for theft or theft of property. So we just now have one cash drawer for finance.
All right. Council, what would you like to do about item I?
Move to approve the resolution.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? All right, I have a second. Any questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that passed unanimously. I don't see any call for any transportation benefit district. I do have one sign up here for citizen comment, and Dane, the floor is all yours. If I could please get you to come up and state your name, organization you're from, and you have 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you very much. My name is Dana Leroy. I'm the Director of Government Affairs for Habitat for Humanity Spokane. And mostly I'm following up on the invitation that my colleague who was here about 2 weeks ago, Monica Marie, was extending to the council to come and just come see our project. But also in conversation with Mayor Bowman, I wanted to expand a little bit about sort of what we're hoping. We been doing work on Highland Village for a number of years. It's actually a project that's been in the works for over 10 years when we were trying to partner with the city to address concerns around housing in the APZ south of town. And so this is really an opportunity, not just to come and see the neighborhood and learn about sort of the ins and outs of what we do, but it's a good opportunity if you're new on council to come and learn about the history of the project, because it's got sort of this integral history to the community, to hear about sort of where we've been, the details of how it works, how families purchase their homes. It's an affordable home ownership program, so it's pretty unique. It's not like a lot of other affordable housing programs, and it has a lot of unique details that folks usually like to learn about. What happens if families aren't successful? What does our success rate look like? What's the process to purchase a home? And then, where does this community want to move going forward? We do have land that we're working on developing another at least 60 units of affordable home ownership opportunities. And so it's an opportunity to have a wide ranging discussion. If you have questions that you've had sort of about this project in the community, this is a great time to meet with myself, the CEO, Michelle, and have more of a conversation. We're also wanting to be sort of more active and communicative with the Airway Heights community. So it's also a good opportunity for us if there are questions that council has about, how does this process work? If there are more sort of updates that council would like on a reoccurring basis, we want to be more communicative and sort of just providing information and being in a dialogue. So this is a good opportunity to sort of gather that information so that we can go forward and be the best communicators with our community that we can be. So with that being said, we do have one pre-scheduled meeting or tour tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. That one council member is signed up for, and we welcome anyone else in addition to that. We have an additional one on Thursday at 2 p.m. And we are really happy to work with anybody to find one that works for a schedule. It's very flexible. There should be an email in your council email already sort of with that information, but just want to extend the invitation and sort of give a little background to why it's there. So thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dane. All right. Any other, I don't have any other sign-ups, but is there anybody else? Okay. All right. No call for any workshops, no call for any executive sessions that I'm aware of. Nothing. All right. Well, we can go ahead and adjourn at 6:43 p.m. Thank you, everyone.